Now, recently, the Air Force got a ton of criticism for kicking out an unnamed airman because he refused to recite the words "So help me God" as part of his re-enlistment oath. Now, in light of this, the Air Force Public Affairs Office recently announced that this policy change, that a policy change was in order. So, no longer will it be mandatory to say "So help me God" during a re-enlistment oath or an enlistment oath if the individual chooses not to. Deborah Lee James, the Secretary of the Air Force, said, quote, we take any instance in which airmen report concerns regarding religious freedom seriously, and we are making the appropriate adjustments to ensure our airmen's rights are protected. So this situation, to me, sort of brings up an important discussion on the role religion is playing in the government right now. But before I get too ahead of myself, I want to get the panel's reaction on what you think of this whole change.
About fucking time. That's all I have to say, really. Like, Jesus Christ, it took them long enough. The swearing to God thing should have never been on a condition in the first damn place. I mean, what the hell is this? England before the Catholic emancipation? What is that bullshit? You don't get to fucking do that. You don't get to say you have to believe in this God before you can actually serve or hold office. This isn't 200 years ago. That's not acceptable.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in right there. And make a real quick point and point out why I don't really give a damn about it. And it's not because I'm religious. It's because of what Nick just said. Jesus Christ. How long ago should this have happened? So help me God is no longer a religious statement. Like I get that they're doing it on principle, but like this is not about the Air Force. Like the Air Force isn't forcing them to wear a religious emblem to go to a service. It's a figure of speech that has truly lost its meaning. And it's basically all you're saying is this is a solemn oath I'm swearing. And like it's not religious oppression. I'm not saying that we shouldn't throw it out because I mean it's still there, but I mean it's just like every time you write a date, you're writing 2014 in the year of our Lord. It's just that is equally as religious as saying "So help me God" when taking an oath.
Yeah, so but that one has some pushback.
I get the principle. I get the principle that they're going for, and I'm totally on board with it. There should be no test for serving the military or office. But this is don't bring up the CE crap, Nick. That's not real. But,
bastard, you knew where I was going with that.
Although it's funny in my religious degree we used BCE and CE, and in my history degree we used AD and BC. It's
actually kind of amazing.
But anyway, yeah, like this was not, and the Air Force has a very very strong history of actually forcing religion on people. So maybe that's why they chose this part to make their stand or whatever, you know. But the phrase itself, it doesn't bother me, and that's not because I'm religious. It's because it's not really a religious phrase anymore.
Yeah, don't steal my thunder, Jordan. That's exactly what I was going to get in. This specific thing about the "So help me God" and the oath, like whatever, making it non-mandatory is a good thing, but it's not as big an impact as the Air Force culture, and certain parts of our military have a strong Christian culture, like that. They tell you, I better see you in the pews at this time and all that. And, like, that's more important. We've actually done maybe 1 or 2 stories on that in the past about how leadership in certain special forces unit are very, like, Christian pushy on their people, on the people that come in. And it's like you don't get accepted unless you're with them at all points, including at religious services. So, like, the cultural thing is way more important than this oath thing. That being said, I don't disagree with making it optional.
But here's the thing. Here's the thought though. Where did the culture element come from? I mean, I don't necessarily think it came from that thing being in the oath either. At the same time, you can't help but speculate. Perhaps it being an element of the oath did mean other religious groups didn't feel welcome in the Air Force, and maybe that it did contribute somehow to the culture build the way it did. So I don't And I get what Jordan's saying. And Jordan, you're right. It is, for the most part, it's just a turn of phrase that's common now, in the same way saying Jesus Christ is. It doesn't have that much of an impact, but it still has even a tiny, tiny smidge of some sort of impact. And
yeah, totally.
It's
and it's that impact that I think it's, for that reason, it shouldn't be there. I mean, we can talk about how ridiculous it is the Queen of frickin' England still has to be the Anglican because it's the head of the Anglican Church. So, if we want to talk about ridiculousness and shit like that, I mean, it's things. A lot of old religious things remain the way they are, remain in institutions because, honestly, even part of tradition, and that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be changed, even if it is only out of principle.
I think that it is important enough of an issue. Because it made it so that somebody couldn't re-enlist. That's sort of an important issue. If it actively prevents people from enlisting in something that they want to enlist in, just because they don't, say a phrase or hold a certain belief, it is important. Maybe the phrase itself is unimportant, but the idea behind having to swear a phrase like this or to say an oath like this with this involved, that's the meaning behind it is more important than the words themselves.
Yeah, and I think it does have a strong, God, I just lost the word, but the fact that it's the swearing in oath, even though like the phrase itself is completely inconsequential in our culture, it does have a symbolic meaning, because I get why they picked this battle to fight, because it's what opens the door, to get you in the Air Force where you actually do have the problem. So I mean, I'm with them. I get where they're coming from.
Right, and to Jeff's point, Jeff made a devastating point that it prevented somebody or some people from being able to re-enlist. Just think about how dumb that is. Like, it is not flying a plane is not like driving a car. Everybody can't learn to do it. Like, these are people with special sets of skills who are being prevented from re-enlisting. They're like the only people who want to join the military now. Like, because recruiting is down. You guys know what I'm saying. But like, you're preventing people with skills that can do the job from redoing the job. Like, it's so dumb. But like, to my overall point, I still think the culture is more prudent. But this is it's a good gesture. Like, it's good to have it optional.
It might be a step in changing the culture, because it might generate a feeling of inclusivity for other religious groups. I just want to actually read a comment from one of our audience members here, and because I think it kind of summarizes perhaps the opinion of people who might have been interested in the Air Force but then saw the oath. This person says, "I may exclaim Jesus Christ and shit like that, but I will never be forced to say something like 'So help me God' in a binding oath." So.
Not to mention that it's also unconstitutional.
No religious oath shall be test of public office, and that technically refers to the Congress and the executive, but the military is under the executive, so it makes sense.